Hey, God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. It's Coach Will Bendiga Baruch. Blessings and favor. Look, I just want to take a short period of time and I want to read a few things to you. I want to have a quick discussion with you. It's important. I got friends that just got out of the hospital. Been friends of mine for almost since I was a teenager, man. We've been around the world together. I got another friend called me this morning to say, pray for me. I got some medical issues, pain and blood and stool. And I mean, hey, man, we know people are dying all around us on a regular basis. There's so much going on. So I want to have a quick talk with you about, how we got here, why everybody's sick, how everybody got sick, and talk about expectations, what yours is, what you supposed to have got, you didn't get, you ain't getting, why not, and your best shot at getting victory over this crappy, terrible situation we're in now. That makes sense? So look, I'm not gonna spend all day. It's not no long, complicated nothing. So let's get it on. I'm gonna read briefly out of the complete Jewish Bible. I'm gonna start with Genesis. Genesis, as we know, is the beginning. This is the second chapter, by the way. So God has already taken the 7 days and created everything. So we start with chapter 2. It says, thus the heavens and earth was finished, along with everything in them. On the seventh day, God was finished with his work, which he had made. So he rested on the seventh day from all his work, which he had made. God blessed the seventh day and separated it as holy, because on that day God rested from all his work, which he had created, so that itself could produce. Let's check that out. On that day, God rested from all his work which he had created, so that it itself could produce. By the way, Sunday is not that day. So that's one mystery gone down the drain right now, man. Sunday is not the seventh day. The calendar we even using, the Gregorian calendar, is mostly, man, revised by the Romans. Sunday, it's not even the name of the day. The weeks are not, don't fall for the sham. But at any rate, that's the day that society set up for us to head on to church. And we can use it for great things, for worshiping and blessing and lifting up God on that day. But I just don't want you to be deceived to think that, blah. Anyway, says here's the verse chapter 2 verse 4. Here's the history of the heavens and earth when they were created. On that day, on the day that when Adonai God made earth and heaven, there was as yet no wild bush on the earth, and no wild plant had as yet sprung, for Adonai God had not caused it to rain on the earth, and there was no one to cultivate the ground. Rather, a mist went up from the earth, which watered the entire surface of the ground. People have problems believing the scripture, man, but guess what? They say, man, at the time, prehistoric times in the world, plants and grass and trees was like multiple times as big as what we see right now. Say that the oxygen level was richer. There was a huge moisture density. If you look at the jungle, they're still consistent in that area right now to this date. So we always, got doubts and questions about the Bible. Let's start just, man, if you don't believe in nothing, man, you're lost. Why believe in what this world is giving you to believe? Then Adonai formed a person. In Hebrew, his name is Adam. From the dust of the ground, hence Adamah. And breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, so that he became a living being. Adonai, God, planted a garden toward the east in Eden, and there he put the person whom he had formed out of the ground. Adonai, God, caused to grow every tree pleasing in appearance and good for food, including the tree of life in the middle of the garden and the tree of knowledge and good and evil. So how about that? He made us to be vegetarians. There was no death. We weren't cooking steaks, killing cattle. He gave us every green. 10. A river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it was divided into 4 streams. The name of the first stream is Pishon. It winds throughout the land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of that land is good. Aromatic resin and onyx stone are also found there. The name of the second river is Gishon. It winds throughout the land of Cush. Cush is still existing to this day. The name of the third river is Tigris. That's existent to this day. So this Bible was written so far back, and these rivers still exist to this day, but yet we don't want to believe nothing in the Bible. By the way, Tigris River is drying out, and there's a prophecy about when it dries out. We know about the Tigris River for what? Ancient nations such as Iraq that we went through and ransacked, right? That's how we got to know about it as mainstream America. The name of the third river is Tigris. It is the one that flows towards the east of Ashur. The fourth river is the Euphrates. There is the other one, the Euphrates. That still exists to this day. No, it's not the Tigris River prophecy. It's the Euphrates River drying out prophecy. Verse 15, Adonai, God took the person and put him in the Garden of Eden to cultivate and care for it. Adonai, God, gave the person this order. You may freely eat from every tree in the garden, except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You are not to eat from it, because on the day that you eat from it, it will become certain that you will die. Again, he told me he's a vegetarian. Eat all the plants. Told him which one not to, and he told him what happened if he eat it. Adonai, God said, it isn't good that the person should be alone. I will make for him a companion suitable for helping him. How about that? So God gave Adam the instructions. Adam was by himself. There was no woman at the time. So from the ground, Adonai God formed every wild animal and every bird that flies in the air, and he brought them to the person to see what he would call them. So there it is. He told them to eat first. And then the animals showed up later. And of course, there's no deal. We don't know if this happened the next day, weeks, months. We don't know. Doesn't say. Seemed like it was the next day, but don't think it works like that. So at any rate, there it is, man. So it was no chicken for him to fry. There was no steaks for him to cook up when he first got there. It was plants. Plants. God said eat all the plants. We know people say, oh, you can't eat plants, man, and sustain muscles, man. Gorillas were stronger and more muscle density than we have. All they eat is plants. They're vegetarians. So, I mean, all the lies we tell ourselves, here it is. Verse 20, so the person gave names to all the livestock, to the birds in the air and every wild animal. But for Adam, there was not found a companion suitable for helping him. How about that right there? We talking about Adam was able to give all these animals names and able to respond to that. Again, man, we look on this planet, there's very few animal-to-animal relationships where one animal is able to call to the other animal, give it a name and call it by name. There's only one animal on this planet that consistently has that power and authority. That's man. That exists to this day. Do we have it to the extent that Adam had that communication session back then? No. But we still have remnants of this power and this authority. So I'm just saying to you, man, when people tell you, you don't want to believe what the scriptures say, I don't believe. Look, it's so much reality. It's so much of it that's real that's floating around right here in front of our eyes. It's so simple. That is, it's snatched. The vision is snatched right from our eyes. 21. Yeah. Then God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the person. And while he was asleep, he took one of his ribs and closed up the place from which he took it with flesh. The rib which Adonai God had taken from the person, he made a woman person, and he brought her to the man person. The man person said, "At last, this is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She is to be called woman." Hebrew, that's Isha, because she was taken out of man. Hebrew man is Ish. This is why a man is to leave his father and mother and stick with his wife. They are to be one flesh. They were both naked, and the man and his wife, and they were not ashamed. I'm not ashamed, not anymore, not like before. All right, okay. Verse chapter 3. Now the serpent was more crafty than any wild animal which Adonai God had made. He said to the woman, "Did God really say you are not to eat from any tree in the garden?" The woman answered the serpent, "We may eat from the fruit of the trees of the garden, but about the fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden, God said, you are neither to eat from it nor touch it, or you will die." And again, remember, God didn't say nothing about touching it. He said, don't eat it. How she added that part to it, I don't know. The serpent said to the woman, "Is it not true that you will surely die?" Because God knows that on the day you eat from it, your eyes will be open, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it had a pleasing appearance, and that the tree was desirable for making one wise, she took some of its fruit and ate. How about the first temptation right there? Pleasing to the eye. Well, how about this? The serpent addressed the woman first. How about this? We're going to say that the serpent, well, we usually use the serpent to assume that Satan took its form and its shape. But it just simply says here he's crafty. But whatever it was, whether Satan took its shape, it couldn't make Adam do nothing. It didn't have power and authority over Adam. It wasn't bigger, stronger, tougher. Could harm Adam in any way. As a matter of fact, couldn't harm Eve. It had to use trickery, treachery, deceit, mind tricks, mind games, right, to fool her. And it played on her human weaknesses. It says pleasing to the eye. That's the first thing. Eye candy. That's this common trick we use to this day. They make everything that is deadly for us pleasing to the eye. If we see it's unpleasing, we're going to reject it. And they're going to have a harder time trying to destroy us with it. So the same tricks work to this day. Come on, man. I'm just saying, come on now. Where you at? Be more discerning. I'm talking to you. Be more discerning. She also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were open, and they realized that they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together to make themselves loincloths. Still, again, no animal's been killed. But how about this? How about they were sitting there talking to the animal, having a full conversation with a serpent? People say, I don't believe that. I don't believe that now. I don't know of many animals that we can have conversations. Maybe that's authority and power that got lost since then. We know parrots can have a conversation and understand and interact. Excuse me, there's a few other animals that also can do that. But here's the power and authority God given us. We were sitting here rapping with the serpent. Come on, man. Chop it up. Chapter 3, verse 8. They heard the voice of Adonai, God walking in the garden at the time of the evening breeze. So the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Adonai. Now remember, we don't know, man. This makes it seem like this all happened the next day. So it don't seem like Adam and Eve had more than 2 weeks on this planet before they cut a fool. I think they had way more time than this. Call it time skip. God, they hid themselves in the presence of Adonai, God, among the trees in the garden. Adonai, God, called to the man, "Where are you?" He answered, "I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid myself." He said, "Who told you you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree from which I ordered you not to eat?" The man replied, "The woman you gave to be with me, she gave me the fruit from the tree, and I ate." Listen to that cowardice. Listen to that severe cowardice. And we still blaming women for everything bad on the planet right now. Well, again, God put man here first. And mind you, nothing bad went wrong until Adam ate. She could have ate. I don't know what the consequence would have been. But God gave him the instructions, and he was supposed to lead and guide his team. But instead, this coward started talking about, "Oh, she did it." Verse 13, Adonai, God said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" The woman answered, "The serpent tricked me, so I ate." 14, Adonai, God said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, you are cursed more than any livestock and any wild animals. You will crawl on your belly and eat dust as long as you live. Now, mind you, see, the serpent was not a snake then. It became a legless creature as a result of this great sin. So now, right now, we're talking about when he disobeyed God, the disobedience is the sin. The disobedience is the sin. Eating the fruit, well, that was the manifestation of disobedience. God said, "Did you eat when I told you not to?" That is the discovery, the recognition of the sin. When Adam ate the fruit, that's when the sin came in, and hence brought all these consequences. So I just want you to see, observe, we had a wonderful life beforehand. We had power, we had authority, we had food, we had warmth. We can walk around naked. Don't say nothing about housing, but look, everything was great. This was what God had planned for us. The beautiful stuff, the wonderful stuff. Gold in one river right here, man, rivers running off. Plants was easy to cultivate. He basically, man, didn't need no tools. He's like, "Yo, move you around, shift you around. Yo, you grow. I want to eat you, collard greens. I want to eat you, man." Boom. It's that easy. This is what God gave us. This is the gift he gave us. I said, "Well, gold. You're talking about gold. You get gold. If you ever need gold, you got gold. You got water, fresh water. We got to pay for water nowadays. Come on now. I'm just saying, come on now." So before sin came into our life, we had one life. Now we're starting to see what happened after sin came into our life. And that's where you and I are right now, after sin came into our environment, our world. He says to the serpent, "You will crawl on your belly and eat dust as long as you live. I will put animosity between you and the woman, and between your descendants and her descendant. He will bruise your head, and you will bruise his heel." Now, right there, we getting a huge idea. Are we just talking about serpents, which people mostly are scared of to this date? It says bruise your head and you will bruise his heel. Are we still only talking about a serpent? Or are we talking about something that manifests itself inside the serpent, which is bruising us to this date? Don't know. Could it be allegorical, metaphorical? Something to think about. To the woman, he said, "I will greatly increase your pain in childbirth. You will bring forth children in pain. Your desire will be toward your husband, but he will rule over you." So how about that? Adam wasn't ruling over her initially, but it seemed as though he had the ability to stop himself from eating the fruit. But now, after sin, he said, "You're going to be ruled over." 17, to Adam, he said, because you listened to what your wife said and ate from the tree about which I gave you the order, you are not to eat from it. The ground is cursed on your account. You will work hard to eat from it as long as you live. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat field plants. You will eat bread by the sweat of your forehead until you return to the ground. For you were taken from it, and you are dust, and you will return to dust. The man called his wife Hava, life, because she was the mother of all living things. Adonai, God, made garments of skin. See now, skin. Death enters. They had to kill an animal to get a skin. First, they made their covering by leaves. So let's pay attention. And clothed them. But how about this? He still loved them enough to clothe them. He actually killed an animal so he could clothe them. So these children who disobeyed him, disobedient, they got consequence to pay. Their life about to change, but he still loved them enough to clothe them. Come on now. I'm just saying, is our God a loving God? You got to think about that. When I cut a fool, man, wouldn't perform in school, my mama wouldn't buy me no shoes. I had holes in my shoes. God said, look, I'm going to still love you. I'm going to clothe you, and I'm going to kill an animal to do it. Adonai, God says, see, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. Who is us? God and his son, Yeshua Jesus. Who else was he with? Now, to prevent his putting out his hand and taking also from the tree of life, eating and living forever. Now we don't get to live forever. We must die sometime. Therefore, Adonai God sent him out of the Garden of Eden to cultivate the ground from which he was taken. So he drove the man out, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden, the Keruvim, and a flaming sword which turned in every direction to guard the way of the tree of life. All right, that's all I'm gonna read about the beginning right there. So, at any rate, that's what I wanted to go over and just talk to everybody about. Look, so what's our rescue? Romans 10, 9 and 10. The Apostle Paul tells us that if you acknowledge publicly with your mouth that Yeshua is Lord and trust in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be delivered. For with the heart one goes on trusting and thus continues toward righteousness, while with the mouth one keeps on making public acknowledgement and thus continues towards deliverance. That is so crucial. Let me read that again. Romans 10, 9 and 10, that if you acknowledge publicly with your mouth that Yeshua is Lord and trust in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be delivered. For with the heart one goes on trusting and thus continues toward righteousness, while with the mouth one keeps on making public acknowledgement and thus continues towards deliverance. I just want to read it from this other Bible, my MacArthur Bible as well, because that language we don't hear all that much. So we're talking about what's the rescue from this horrific situation we got right now, right? From what I just read to you about Adam and Eve. Do you want the rescue? Do you want the victory? Do you want to continue on? Romans 10. Continue on with this crappy situation we got and try to make happiness and joy out of this hot mess. We got to realize that this mess is not what God gave us. That's why we feel this dis-ease. That's why we always striving after, chasing after something to give us some type of rest, it's an internal alert system that's telling us this is not what you're supposed to have. You're supposed to have more and better. We run from that and we run to soothing and I did it too. I was great at it. Well, I wasn't great at it. I was persistent at it, tenacious at it. So we chase after, running from this alert system that says, wait, get back to your Father God, Jehovah. Get back to Yeshua, Jesus. Get back to Adonai, and he will guide you and teach you and show you the right way through this mess and show you what is wrong. So all this stuff that you complain about, your governance, your government, your food, your money, don't ask God, man, look, man, help me with my finances. No, give me victory over sin. Give me freedom from sin. Through Yeshua, Jesus Christ, my Lord and my Savior. So it says right here, Romans 10, 9 and 10. It says, because if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For with the heart one believes and is justified. With the mouth one confesses and is saved. And that's it. So you say to me, Bill, well, what happens after I'm justified and saved, after I believe? Well, there it is. The mystery is right there. If you believe in your heart, your life is going to start to change. Don't you look for the change. You allow the change. You comply with the change. You do your part to facilitate the change, but your life will start to change. Well, am I saying that you won't, that people that really believe, you got people that call themselves Christians, but do they really believe in their heart? Do they live by the word? Those answers are no, and no, and no. But even if they did, am I promising you that you won't get cancer? I'm not making those type of statements, because sin is the ruler of this land and it has a short time left. We say short time. Well, our life, we only have for 70 to 100 years. That's very short. Man, that's just barely longer than ants and bees when we talk about the real lifespan of things, right? But we have a short time, and this wickedness, this sin governance has a short time left over us. Man, do you want to live the rest of your life, which may be 10 minutes from now or maybe 10 years from now, or who knows, you may get a new, fresh 50 years tacked on to what you got. Do you want to continue to live under the authority of this sin, banished from the garden? You got to work for your brow and your sweat. You got to, come on. Do you want to be free? Do you want to be rescued? Do you want to be saved? Come on now. Do you want to be delivered? Does that mean you got to wait till you die? Well, your death is just going to be more beautiful than anything that we can even think of. But no, we don't have to wait till we die to, life is not a walk of pain. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not, God didn't insist. There it is. God didn't put us here for we can have a walk of pain. He had the man put us here, man, so we can do well. We ruined it. We blew it through sin. But through Christ, Yeshua, Jesus, you can start to get a recovery on what's been stolen from you. This thing, this world, this stuff you look at is not what we've been given. It's not our inheritance. It's the residual, the leftovers, what's been stolen. Get yours back. Get it back. Get it back. I love you. Bless you. Bendiga. Baruch. Bye-bye.